An awful lot. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have played a lot of great parts over the years. You've made a lot of them better than they were because you're such a terrific actress. Meant and continues to mean so much to you.
Well, you know, this, I have to tell you the truth. I was that girl, that shy, terribly shy girl who couldn't quite look at you, and who had, I mean, that was me. And it's an interesting thing, in playing her and having the opportunity of playing that character, it was very freeing, you know, it really was. It was a terrific spiritual, if you will, opportunity to free that terribly oppressed girl. Yeah.
Now, how did you first hear about the script in the first place? You were coming off of Godfather 1 and 2.
And I just had a baby.
And just had a baby who's here tonight.
Here tonight. That's how I know 40 years. 40 years have gone by. Yeah.
So, how did it first cross your radar?
Well, actually, I heard about it, and then the script was sent to me, and I just have to tell you, on the page, you'll hear your movie lovers, so I know you've heard this. On the page, Rocky was brilliant. It was poetic, it was strange, it was unusual, and I kept going back and saying, who is this Sylvester Stallone? Who is this person who wrote this script? Because it was totally unique.
And so you go in for your audition.
The audition.
And you have said that you're not somebody who loves auditions. You get a little nervous.
Mm-hmm.
What happened here, though, where it just kind of some magic, right?
Indeed. John Avildsen was there, and I was still curious. Who is Sylvester Stallone? What an interesting name. And he walked to that audition, and I was thrown back. He was larger than life, very sensitive, totally unique. And then John Avildsen said, well, listen, let's try some scenes. And we were doing one scene. I remember this because I punched him. I did that. I actually hit him. Yeah. And he went, oh. And I went, oh, I'm terribly sorry. But I think that got me the job because I was so good at hitting him. You know?
Now, as you mentioned, at the time, he was not a very well-known actor, but there was a very well-known actor when you got to the set. And he was somebody that you and Sylvester Stallone, and I think everybody on the set really looked up to. Who was that?
Burgess.
Yeah, Burgess.
And you can see him, he's on all the time on TCM, right?
And the Twilight Zone reruns everywhere.
Great, great actor. And we were making Rocky was very low budget. You need to know this. And we were in Philadelphia it was December, and it was freezing cold. And we had sort of a community truck where the cables were, and the costumes were there. They put a couple of mirrors by the wall. We were so freezing cold, our breath made fog on the mirrors. We couldn't quite see as we changed our clothes. I'm changing my clothes next to this great actor, Burgess, Meredith, and he's putting on his Mickey cap. And he was full of creative joy. This is a great actor, no complaints. And he sort of set the key for the rest of us as actors. This is what a professional actor does. He brings that great sense of creativity and collaboration. And boy, he was, for all of us, all the actors, he set that standard.
Now you mentioned clothes. The clothes that you were wearing in this were of an interesting style, and they were the result of whose choosing?
Mine. Mine. I have to say, John Avildsen said to us, because, you know, he created a tremendous sense of ensemble, and we had rehearsals, and he said, you know, to me, I'd like you to give some thought about what she might wear, and you need to go out to some Goodwill stores. That's where he sent me to get my costumes. And indeed I did. And then I came in with the hat, and I went to my eye doctor. He gave me these interesting glasses. And I walked in, dressed this way. And John Avil said, "Oh, that's wonderful." And he let me keep those clothes, by the way.
And you still have them 40 years later.
Still have them 40 years later.
Now, of all the scenes that you've performed in your career, I think a few of the ones that are at the top of the list for you from what I've read, what we've talked about, are in this movie. So I've got to just prompt you to share a little bit about them. And, you know, I think if you haven't seen the movie, it'll titillate you, and if you have, you'll get what we're talking about. So, number one, ice skating.
Ice skating. Oh, what a courtship those two had, right? He takes her ice skating. We started this scene in Philadelphia. It was supposed to be in an outdoor ice skating rink, and we didn't have enough money. And so they closed it down, and they said, no, we're not going to do the scene. We're going to do it in Los Angeles. And they brought us back. And so this is the wonderful thing about this kind of creativity that was on that set, this kind of permission to be creative. And John Avildsen did that. Okay, we didn't have a lot of money, so what were we going to do? So Sylvester invented this crazy scene that takes place on Thanksgiving. He takes this poor girl ice skating. And it was wonderful. It was like all these mistakes, or all these became great opportunities. And I have to tell you one other thing. You know when Bird threw...
Turkey.
Thanks, right? Because I say to Bird, but it's Thanksgiving, you know, I can't go with this man on a date. Bird threw that turkey out the window. Out the window. Nobody knew he was going to do it.
Just like a problem.
And they had to run out and get the turkey again, to do it again, right?
A little bruised, yeah. The other one that I obviously have to ask you about, because it's a very emotional, moving one that nobody forgets, is a certain love scene that those glasses again come into play.
The love scene?
Yes. Why?
Can we talk about the
Yeah,
love scene?
please.
Well, it was actually very intense, because I was walking backwards, and we did the love scene here we did some of the movie in Philadelphia, and we did a lot of it here. And I remember Sylvester decided to take off my glasses, and it was this extraordinary moment. And I'm going to see it again with all of you tonight. But didn't I slip down to the ground and we kissed?
We'll have to we'll have to wait and see.
My son is here, I don't want to. I think I fell to the ground, but it was a big deal because I felt in the character, in designing, a moment for a character, that this, if she didn't allow this moment, this kiss to happen, she would have no life. That was it. That kiss meant that. It was all over for her. Yes.
So, okay, take us back to the weekend Rocky comes out 40 years ago, because while you were not at all unknown prior to this must have changed things immensely, right? This movie comes out, and bang, what changed?
Everything changed. It was a transforming experience. It was, and but this was a little movie that at any moment could have not been released. And I have to say this, Sylvester Stallone believed in this piece. So, I mean, he's an extraordinarily gifted man, a great writer, himself a terrific director. And when we were all coming together to make this movie, he had no money, he had a dented car, he had a baby on the way, but boy did he believe. And that belief ran through the entire time we were shooting, that great belief that something extraordinary was being made. And so when that film opened, he was right. He became a great star.
And you wound up with a second Oscar nomination. That must have been a pretty exciting thing for you. And to go to the Oscars, not only as nominee yourself, but to have your movie and a lot of people associated with it, but particularly Best Picture. That's a big deal. For the third time for you, though, I guess not a big deal. Godfather also, Godfather 2 won, but I mean, what, you know, to see that the industry embraced this movie that a lot of people never gave a chance to, that meant a lot.
It meant a great deal because it could have been, you know, movies can be made and you never know what you have. And it could be a great time that you're acting, but the music could be wrong, and in this case the music was great. Or it's a terrific movie, but there's no distribution. Somehow everything came together for this little tiny movie.
Last question is, can you believe that 40 years later we're not only sitting here talking about this movie, that people are here excited to see this movie, that there have been 6 sequels since this movie, 4 I think of which you participated in. This year we had one, Creed. I don't know if you got to see it, but the bottom line is...
And he's great. Sylvester Stallone was great in this movie, Creed. He was great.
So, you know, I guess just the big picture that we are here 40 years later for one reason, to see this movie that you were a part of, and how does it make you feel?
Well, to share this movie with all of you here, this great theater, this is like, you know, I think it's going to, tonight for me will be one more great rocky memory. Tonight, sharing this movie with all of you that I could put with my other memories in my heart. So I'm very excited to be here and see this movie.
Well, we're very excited. You are here. Thank you so much.